Hey guys, on this Thursday night, thanks for joining Midnight Movie Talk with me, Eric Weber. Just got done watching the NFL draft for 3.5, almost 4 hours. So I'm ready to talk about movies. But when I was watching the NFL draft, I love the NFL draft. Okay, I know not everybody who's watching the stream and taking it in is as big an NFL fan as me. But the NFL draft, when I was watching, it reminds me of where I get my ability to judge films. It's coming from really watching prospects in the NFL. Have watched the draft forever since I was way back to high school, Eric. And one of the things that the NFL draft is so really the best part about it for me is identifying talent. And when you watch films, that's exactly what we're doing. It's what I try to do. You watch a film and you try to extract what it does well and conversely what it doesn't do well. Where are the areas of the film that are above average or well above average and those well below average? And then you have a composite and an entire picture of the film. So when I watch the NFL draft, it reminds me of how I evaluate films because it's really more of that kind of process. Evaluation. It's film evaluation, not film criticism. Even though they're very closely tied together, it's more about evaluating the film and whether it works and what it's trying to do. So when I watch Mel Kiper Jr., if you don't know who that is, he's a legend in the NFL draft. And when you talk about, he loves saying that. When you talk about a film, when you talk about this, and what we're going to do tonight is we have no review. So I'm not going to be doing as much evaluation on the actual individual film, but we will be talking more about just overall arcing ideas about the film industry because today was the end of CinemaCon over in Las Vegas. Huge event. It's a convention. Theater owners go, plus press, plus you can buy a ticket if you want to go. And you can see previews of films. And sometimes they sneak in the entire film like they did today with Top Gun Maverick debuting. So this is a film that comes out at the end of next month. And I believe the world premiere is actually next week in San Diego. But they said, hey, the movie's ready. Let's show it to people. We're confident in it. Paramount has had so many hits in a row. Lost City, obviously Sonic 2. Go back to even Scream. They have had a lot of success recently. They're about ready to have it again here with Top Gun Maverick. Let's look at some of the early reactions. I'm going to see this movie in 2 weeks. They streamed it again. Streamed it because that's what I'm doing. No, they screened it today in Las Vegas for everybody so they could get those initial reactions in. And they were positive. I mean, I'm really not surprised by this because it looks right. You've seen the trailer. This is going to deliver everything that you want. So go back up here. I'm on Variety and really THR, Variety, Deadline. These are the three best sources for information when it comes to Hollywood. And I'm just looking through some of the reactions here from the film. And I'm going to scroll down to one of my good friends and contacts and almost like a brother out here in Hollywood, Scott Menzel. And he had this to say: Top Gun Maverick is going to completely blow away fans of the original and may even make some new ones along the way. Truthfully, even though the plot is very dependent on that of the original, I found the film to be better than the original in almost every way. I can imagine that to be the case in that the advancements in just shooting in CG, because there will, even though there's a lot of practical in this film, there's going to be a lot of CG in it as well. Okay, there's going to be effects. It's a Top Gun film, so I can imagine, given the scope, it looks like it's obviously a bigger scope. You've got a bunch of young actors in this film because they got to figure out a way to make this thing keep going. If Top Gun Maverick performs like we expect it to perform, which is going to be very well, another hit for Paramount, then that's the case. So for Scott to tell me that it's better than the original, I'm excited to hear that. Let's get to a couple more. I'm going to skip Frosty. Notice how I said that? I'm going to skip him. Let's go down. Scott. I love Scott Mendelson, another good friend of mine. Top Gun Maverick offers interesting parables for Tom Cruise, asserting his movie star dominance in a changing industry. I love Scott. And some strong aerial footage. Alas, it's otherwise a deeply generic, formulaic follow-up. It's dependent on the 80s hit equals cultural myth nostalgia. Scott, Why? How? Sometimes I will say this. I love Scott Mendelson. He's a great guy. If you want to sit down and talk films and really get into the nitty gritty and any film that was ever released, how much it made opening weekend, every box office stat you can imagine, that is Scott Mendelson. As far as reviews, I don't tend to align with him very much. I align much more with Scott, even though there's many times that we do not see eye to eye. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. Let's go through and look for at least one more. It's very hard because I got to be honest with you. There's not a lot of critics I trust, and let me tell you why. We a little offshoot here as we talk about this. There's not a lot of fellow critics. In my case, I consider myself an evaluator that I trust, and let me tell you why. Because there are a lot of people in this industry that love to praise all the time and have a very hard time bringing things down when they need to be taken down. And because they work, let's say that they work for a publication that is dependent on ad dollars that comes directly from a studio, you have to question whether that person is going to be able to go after a film as aggressively as someone who has no connection, no dollars inflowing from a studio to pay for ad space on a website. You guys know what I'm saying? It's called being objective. So I'm going to read through one and I'm going to tell you why and this is interesting when I read this, okay? So Eric Davis, he works for Fandango. Now, you guys know what Fandango is. Fandango sells movie tickets. Okay, so they're part of the industry. They can't be coming out and bashing films. So when I read him and it says that it's a great film and, I cried and all, that's good. But the problem here is I highlighted here is trust me when I say this. Now, as somebody in this industry and someone who reviews films and evaluates films myself, and there are many people that do the same thing, I understand that. But you should never have to say in a review, trust me when I say this. Okay? Because if you have earned the trust of the public, of the person who reads you, who respects you, they should trust you. You don't have to say that. You say it and people believe it. So that's why I don't trust a lot of critics. So I will reserve judgment for Top Gun Maverick. That said, I grew up in the 80s. I saw this as a kid, the original. I have the cassette. I told you guys the other night I had the cassette. I played it in my basement as I lifted weights in Columbus, Ohio. That is, I'm a Top Gun freak, so of course I'm going to be a little biased. But I still have the ability to remove myself from 1986 and enjoy or not enjoy the film for what it is. So I think that's going to be a real interesting measuring stick when I get to see this film here in about a week and a half. So I'll see it ahead of time. But again, today was the first day for this. Let's get to another big news here today. This one is Hunger Games. Now, here's the thing that I want to say about Hunger Games. Lionsgate had their presentation today, and I've said on the stream many times, Lionsgate needs to find franchises other than John Wick. They're really in a spot where they don't have much to work with. Today they showed John Wick 4 stuff. So they showed, some early, stuff from that film. But again, we knew that Lionsgate had that. So now what are they doing? They're dipping back into the pool of Hunger Games because they're going to do a prequel to Hunger Games, which, listen, they don't have much to work with. So I'm sure that they said to themselves, let's just get something together here with Hunger Games and we can do a prequel. We can make that work. And sure they can. But, do we really need a prequel? Well, listen, if you're Lionsgate, you're just trying to get something going here. So let me read to you the synopsis of what they unveiled today. Apparently it's going to be called Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And it is out next November, the 17th, 2023. Synopsis: in the return to this Hunger Games, years before what would become a tyrannical president of Panem, 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow sees a chance for a change in fortunes when he's chosen to be a mentor to Lucy Greybeard, a girl tribute from impoverished District 12. It sounds like they're just they're gonna recast this and just go get it again, right? So recast with younger Jennifer Lawrence is not coming back to do Hunger Games. Let's get another Jennifer Lawrence-esque young actress and let her do the lovely Hunger Games reboot slash prequel. But Lionsgate needs this, so really not a surprise that they had went ahead and did this. So during the draft, and so that's going to put a wrap to CinemaCon, but I really want to talk about something I was watching during the draft. Have you guys seen the spot or any trailers for Firestarter? This is the new Blumhouse Universal. It's going to be direct to Peacock and theaters on the same day. If you have not seen this trailer, this film, Zac Efron plays the dad. I don't know who the young girl is. I forget who the mom is. This is one of the most just it looks like I'm watching something that's on the Sci-Fi Channel. Like, where did Firestarter come from? And it's, they're showing all these great trailers during the draft because it's a big young audience. They want to get those people. They got Doctor Strange 2 and all that. And then they show Firestarter. I'm like, holy crap, this movie looks really terrible. And the fact that it's going to be on Peacock the same day that it's in theaters, not surprising. The director of this, I had to look it up because I was like, okay, so who directed it? I was curious. Directed a film called The Vigil, which was an IFC movie that was not very good. It was an IFC midnight / the horror film for IFC. Small budget, not scary, not particularly great. So this even lessens my excitement. I don't even know if I'm going to see Firestarter. That's how really weak it looks. I think that's being as kind as possible for that. Weak. It's much worse than weak. It looks like an abomination. Let's get to our final topic here tonight before we get into the comments is the box office for Doctor Strange 2 and for Jurassic Park. Because this weekend, as you guys know, we have nothing major coming out. I mean, there is a Liam Neeson movie, Memory, which I might or may not see this weekend. I have no idea. Maybe if I'm really bored tomorrow. But we have Doctor Strange next weekend. I think 200 million without question is where we are headed with this. I mean, when you look at what this film is scheduled to do, it was initially at about 150, 175, and the number keeps going up. And let me tell you why it keeps going up. Because we have the marketplace back 100%. Everybody is ready, and this is an MCU movie. Let me pull up the MCU box office as we look at these films and the openings of the films. So Endgame is the biggest opening of all time at 357 million. No Way Home, 260 million, done in the middle of Omicron, as you guys know. That's what makes that even more mind-boggling, is that number in the middle of the COVID fear that we were fed by the moment. People said, we're going to movie theaters. Then we have Infinity War, 257. So let's go by release date. Let me see. Okay, so then we get to Avengers at 207. I think that's number 5. I think there's a very, very real chance here. Make that 4. To get in the top 5, right? All it has to do is to get to Black Panthers at 202. 203 million or more. And you are talking about a film that is in the top 5 MCU debuts of all time. Doctor Strange 2 should and will get to at least 200. How much further past that, we're going to find out. Early pre-sales, 45 million, which is very big. And then we're going to just keep ramping up as we get closer and closer to next Thursday night. I see it on Monday. We'll do a stream Monday night, talk about the film I think the embargo breaks on Tuesday, but we can talk very generally about the film on Monday night right here on Midnight Movie Talk. But I think this is a $200+ million film. We're going to find out next weekend, but really tell me you can't feel it. This is surging at just the right time. And that's and really remember, whenever there's not something the weekend before, like right now, you have nothing this weekend. Memory doesn't count. Not a movie. Not insignificant. When you have nothing, and then you have 2 weeks between a movie. So last weekend we had Northman, we had Massive Talent, and we had Bad Guys. But really, we haven't had a film that draws this crowd since Morbius, and we know Morbius was total underachieving and not a great film. So this means this is the first major film since No Way Home. I mean, we can throw other films in there that have been successful, like Sonic 2, but we're talking about a massive four quad tentpole MCU film. This is a 200 million plus film, no question about it. And I think also when you look at Jurassic Park, you're looking at another film, Dominion. This is going to be Universal's biggest film of the summer. Let's pull up and look at, if you haven't paid attention to Jurassic Park and you wonder why they're still making Jurassic Park movies. Well, it's very simple. When I show you what I'm about to show you from the box office, you're like, yep, okay, that makes sense. It's always about money. Okay. It really is. Just like Fast 9, 10, 11, 12, they keep making money. And then when they turn a profit, your ROI, return on investment, is high, then you're going to get another sequel. Look here, Jurassic World from 2015. It is a 652 domestic. That is not worldwide. Worldwide, let's get it. It is let's call it 1.7 billion. 1.7 billion for Jurassic World. For Fallen Kingdom, the number worldwide is 1.3 billion. So it went down in the 3 years. Now we've been talking about it's 4 years. It'll be 4 years since the last Jurassic World. So it gives it a little more space. Between those two, you had 3 years. Anytime you add space for a film that people are getting tired of, like I said with Harry Potter, you gotta create space, create that step back, right? The NBA step back jumper. You gotta have space so that people forget about it and they feel rejuvenated to go see your film again. So now you've got a 4-year window between Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. And because of that, you're going to have a very solid opening. I mean, Fallen Kingdom was at 148 for the opening. Lifetime domestic 400. So it's definitely diminishing returns. I think this one pops back up. It's going to split the difference between Jurassic World 1 and Jurassic World 2. I don't think it'll beat World because World was, obviously the reboot, and it had been, quite a while since we'd had a film, since it was, what was the last Jurassic Park 3? That was 2001. So that's quite a long time. Anytime, that's a lot of space. That's why that film popped the way it did. Now you're talking about a 4-year window. It'll do good. It'll do somewhere between the two. So it'll be in the middle. So we're looking at a really good theatrical slate coming up here, starting with Doctor Strange next weekend. Let's go 220 million. I'm going to roll the dice and go 222 on this right now. 222 million opening for Doctor Strange 2, which would put it fourth all time, I believe. Fourth. I got to look back and look at the Marvel. Let's see. That would put it fourth all time behind Infinity War at 222 and ahead of Avengers and ahead of Black Panther. All right, let's do the comments here on this Thursday Midnight Movie Talk. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. As I am tuning down from the NFL draft. I really do love the NFL draft. I like to approach, again, I really want to approach films like the NFL draft, identifying what areas they're good in, what prospects you need to pay attention to, right? It's cool. It's better. I like it. Nico, what's up, man? Good to have you here. I don't have, I had a Tottenham jersey. I think I have one in the closet, but long story is I need to get a new one. So I will at some point get one. Tonight is I don't have a team allegiance. This is one of the first jerseys I got because I always loved Manchester United. So I said I'm going to get this one, and it does have the Premier League patch. I add the patches now. I'm like turning into such a nerd soccer kit jersey dude. But whatever, you gotta have some kind of passion, right? Other than movies and whatever else you do. Jay, hey, what's up, man? Would love to hear a couple of minutes on your thoughts on a big film news sites, Deadline, THR, Variety, difference between them. Your favorite and why? Okay, great. Yeah, we'll do that. My favorite is probably THR and then Variety. They're very close. They're very similar. I know people at both sites. I think it's really tomato. It's really not much difference between the two. Deadline is a little heavier on the industry stuff. I think the articles get too deep in the weeds. Sometimes I just want to get a cursory look at something or just a little bit of some detail, but not to the level that Deadline wants to get to. If I want that level of detail, I'll go to it. But sometimes you just want to get just a general snapshot of how things are. It's how I like to approach these movie reviews here on Midnight Movie Talk. A snapshot of the film overall, and with very little detail, because you're going to see the film. Why would you want to ruin it? It's just more about, does it work? And again, going back to the NFL draft process of prospecting things, what works, what doesn't, what are the standout areas, what are the areas need to be corrected slash ruin the film, whatever that is. So I can't wait to see, like Top Gun Maverick, and really break that film down. So yeah, I think for me, THR Variety, very similar rating on that, Jay, and then I'd go Deadline a little bit below. Those are the three industry standards here in Los Angeles, in the Hollywood community, and really you don't need to go too much further beyond that. I don't go into the slash films and the colliders and all that. I don't get. I try to, again, approach film more from a very wide angle rather than getting so far into it. Box office, I like to get down and dirty, but again, when you talk to Scott Mendelsohn, I thought I thought I could wing box office for a long time and talk about it. And then you talk to Mendelsohn and you're like, okay, you're in another world, man. I can't do this. I can't do this with you. If there's ever a box office game, he would win. I'm not saying to predict. I'm just saying in general, any kind of trivia when it comes to box office, you're never going to beat Scott Mendelsohn. Nobody will. Top Gun Maverick. Nick, good evening to you. Jurassic World Dominion, which wins? Jurassic World by far. I mean, it's a family film. Top Gun Maverick is almost a four quad film, right? Because you're going to have Gen Xers like myself that grew up in the 80s, that remember Top Gun and remember what a cultural phenomenon that film was. So you're going to have all of them coming with their kids, because that's a big, and the kids are a little bit older, Gen X, but either way, you're going to get that audience. The young kids, I think, are out. I mean, you can take them to see Top Gun Maverick, but that's not Jurassic World. You can take more, right? That's a straight up four quad film, Jurassic World Dominion, and that's why this is the biggest Universal film, well, since F9, but F9 was horrendous. So, I mean, so this is their biggest. If it's good and entertaining, which I imagine it will be, then this will be their biggest film in forever. So I think that is very important to Universal. I think, yeah, absolutely, Jurassic World will slay Top Gun, but Top Gun Maverick will do well. It'll outperform whatever number it has. I mean, on opening, I got to think. Minimum 75, and I think we go from there. I think 100 is absolutely possible with good word of mouth. With my generation still goes to movies. Obviously, I'm here tonight talking about movies. I still go, but there are normal people that aren't super into movies that still go to movies, that are Gen Xers, and they will really come out to see Top Gun Maverick. They're trying to get the younger crowd with that cast. They need to get a little bit, obviously, with Miles Teller and that other young actor that I really love. Drawing a blank on his name. Very much reminds me of a young Ryan Gosling. You know who I'm talking about. Hit me up in the comments. He's great. I met him. Really nice kid too. He was coming up, and I actually sat with him at Critics' Choice. And I go, this guy's cool. Like, he's going to be a star. He just has a look and a swagger about him. And he's in it. He plays like the new Iceman. And it'll hit me. I want to say Grant. Why was I saying Grant? It's gonna pop to me. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Elvis, sleeper awards film. Nick, here we've talked about Elvis. Here's the issue. Is that Baz Luhrmann is a hell of a director, and I go back and I say, go watch Great Gatsby in 3D. You need a time machine to do that, unless you have a 3D television. Somehow you still have one of those. They even make those anymore. But when you watch that film and you watch Great Gatsby and you see Baz Luhrmann working out, I can't wait. This is Elvis. It's going to be the same thing. I wish it were in 3D, but it is absolutely an awards film. But the problem, again, is that it is a July date, and that's how. Look, I will. How many times have you seen me do this? Point to Rocket Man. Rocket Man was a May release, late May, early June. And the reason it didn't do awards is because it was a late May, early June release. So that's the issue Elvis is going to have. Even if it's really exceptional, it's going to be hard to draw it from July and stretch it all the way through award season. It's almost impossible. Warner Brothers will have to rerun some kind of campaign to bring it back. I can't wait to see it. I'm very excited to see Elvis, that trailer, and I guess the new footage. The trailer was enough to sell me. Okay. And I can't wait to see Elvis. But that's the issue with that film as an awards film. You have to stretch it throughout the entire 8 months, 8 months. 8 months to stretch that film and to keep it in the conversation. Very difficult to do. So Warner Brothers will have to re-energize that campaign in like November. So we'll see. If it has a really, I'll tell you one thing that'll help is if it does really well at the box office. That will be huge. I think it will do well because a lot of Elvis fans, not you young kids out there, okay, but not even me, people older than me. Yes, there are people older than me, and they will go see Elvis. I agree. I think Elvis could see some awards consideration, especially for smaller categories. Boz loves the spectacle. You're looking at cinematography. You're looking at Austin Butler. But here's the thing: if Austin Butler, will go back to again, Rocketman. It's perfect. It's the perfect film to discuss this about. Go back and look at what we saw with Taron. Taron got shafted during that award season. Granted, it was all about Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, but either way, Taron Egerton should have been in the mix. He wasn't. He did not get an Academy Award nomination because that film was out in June, late May. That's what's going to happen here to Austin Butler. He could be amazing. He sings. He's all these things just like Taron did in Rocketman. But because it's an earlier in the year film, it's going to be harder to draw that all the way through award season and to recreate the momentum that you need to win. But yes, I have no problem with it being an awards film, but we're so far away. We just wrapped the Oscars. We are almost one full year out from next year's Oscars. 10 months, but I mean, it's a long time. Okay. It's a very long time. OG cast coming back. You're talking about Top Gun, I imagine, Nico. Yeah, I think that's big. I don't think Val Kilmer's in the film. There's the picture of him, but I don't believe, because of, you guys know what happened to Val. He's got, I believe is it throat cancer? I didn't get around to watching the documentary. I've heard it's very good, but he doesn't look, I think, camera ready for this film. That's why they have the picture of him looking healthy, obviously, and they say, hey, Iceman wanted you back. I don't think he's in the movie, but we shall see if he is. I don't believe he is. I haven't looked at anything. I didn't see anything in the reactions. I tried to limit my reactions because sometimes people have a problem and go too far and tell me too much about the movie, which I will never do, ever, because I'm not going to ruin a film for you. That's bull. Good evening, Aaliyah. Per the numbers, $200 million opening weekend, placed at the top 10 biggest opening weekend for all movies. It would be at number 9. I didn't even know that. I thought we'd be above that, 200. So that would be in the top 10. We have to agree on one thing here right now. Everybody, we have to agree on one thing, and that is very simply that we are back 100% to 2019 levels. No more pandemic talk. No more of that crap. Everyone's moved on. Today at the draft in Las Vegas, they had thousands of people crammed into an area that extended all the way back along the Vegas Strip. Thousands of people watching the draft packed in. There's no more pandemic life. And you know what I'm talking. That doesn't mean it's gone. I'm not saying there isn't one. I'm saying that people aren't acting the same way they did 2 years ago. People have moved on. And as such, that's why this movie is going to open at 200 million plus, because we had it happen with No Way Home in the middle of Omicron fear. So now that we have people completely disregarding any kind of messaging that comes out with be scared, stay at home, which is, as you guys have noticed, has lessened because they've realized that nobody wants to hear it anymore. You have to read the room. And trust me, the room says people are done with it. So this next weekend, we're going to be talking about a $220-some million movie in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. I have heard there's already some plot stuff out there and all this. I'm just like, why would you want to know that Scarlet Witch does this or that? I don't want to know any of it. You just want to watch the film and have it take you to wherever the journey that Kevin Feige and the boys down at Marvel decided they wanted to take us. 222 would have it at 5 all time. But you guys know that 222 is not crazy. Like, I mean, if I would have said this, back in November before No Way Home, then you'd be like, yeah, that's nuts. It may be like 140. But this is very easily a 200 plus million. And remember, it's all about nothing for a long time. The ocean, I always talk about box office. There's the ocean's dead, then you get a wave. We are coming up on a massive wave that is called Doctor Strange 2, and it's going to go, and it's going to catch it perfectly, and you're going to ride that thing all the way into shore. So 200 plus, 222 is my number right now. I might adjust as we continue, but I think that's a good number, and I'm going to hold to it. Everything tells me this movie is going to be bonkers at the box office. Tom Cruise is going to whip those dinosaurs back to extinction. Nick's not happening. It's not happening. Yes, I will go on the second half of that. Go see Duel. Is it still in theaters, Nick? I saw Duel last week. It's Riley Stern's new film. If you have not seen it, you need to at least look for this thing when it comes out on streaming. I don't think it's going to be very hard to find in the theater. I saw it down the street because it was in theaters for, a week, and then it did so poorly it disappeared. Duel is really fantastic, and Karen is a Gillum from Guardians. What a performance. And he just, that movie's so interesting. When I watch a film and it's just, you're engaged mentally with the film and you're trying to guess where it's going, and the choices are original and interesting and different, then I'm all in. I saw a movie last night called Pompo the Cinephile, and it is the latest film from G Kids, and it's not as good in the recent anime as Belle. I love Belle. I think Belle is truly, for me, an animated masterpiece. This isn't as good, but it talks about Hollywood and making films and directing a film and choices. It's a really interesting film. But again, same thing like with Duel. My head, like the brain engagement, where they strap things to your brain and they see what levels of what the front, the back, the middle, the cortex, all these things. What is engaged when you watch a movie? Duel is going to engage your brain, and Pompo the Cinephile is going to engage your brain. Both those films are really good, small films. I believe that Pompo's out this weekend, limited. Go look for that. Not as good as Belle, but still very solid. In anime, one thing for sure that you're going to get out of anime is a very heady exercise. I think I'm getting more out of anime now than out of Pixar. I mean, I would take either of the last two G Kids movies of Belle and now Pompo the Cinephile. I'd take either of those over Turning Red. I mean, just from a pure artistic standpoint, they're both far superior. Belle, light years superior to Turning Red. And that's, the sad part is, this is the sad part, is that when you watch Belle, and here it did well because it's Los Angeles, and we actually had on IMAX screens, and because cinephiles are out here. So that's just, but what's sad is that you look at Belle box office, and then you compare it to, I know Turning Red was on Disney Plus, but let's just talk about eyeballs that watch a film. The sad part is, this is what saddens me, is that when you watch Belle, you say, this is a film that so many people should be watching and really should be appreciating and relishing. And instead you get people talking about Turning Red, which is completely forgettable and one of Pixar's worst films. And then you have Belle sitting here and people don't even watch it. You can't even get people like, I don't want to watch an anime movie. Watch Belle. If you haven't seen Belle, watch Belle. There's no question. There's no way you will come out of Belle and not think that this is very close to a masterpiece. Glenn Powell, thank you so much, Nick. Glenn Powell. I was just, what is his name? Super suave dude, good looking kid, gonna be a star. He's had some challenges. He was in a small movie, Richard Linklater, the baseball film. Everybody Wants Some. I want to say that's what it was called. Remember that? It was a small film from like 2014, 15. He's in it. I love that film. It's really cool. Set in the 80s. It's about a baseball team in Texas. And it's really good little film. He's in that. And it's one of the things that when you see, that kid's a star, right? He's like, this guy's big. And then I met him at Critics' Choice. I'm like, yeah, he's a star. CinemaCon was kind of exciting but disappointing at the same time. Nathan, good evening to you. Never look forward to CinemaCon because it wasn't meant for us. Wish they showed trailers for the movies that got pushed back to the public. I do think that there needs to be, Nathan, I agree with this. CinemaCon, you have this event in Vegas and people are talking about all the stuff that you're seeing. And then I feel like that night you need to release the trailer. The very next morning you need to put it out there. Like, Don't Worry, Darling. Even a teaser. They had all this publicity. As you know, she got served on stage by her ex-husband, Jason Sudeikis, who I assume is a custody battle for their kid. I believe they have one child, I believe. And served her on stage. And there's all this publicity for this film, and then we don't get to see anything. Like, you really need to. The studios need to do a better job now that CinemaCon has really upped its profile. CinemaCon is now becoming almost, it's not Comic-Con, okay, but it is becoming big where people are talking about it much more every year, especially now that cinema is back, theatrical is back, that people are talking about it, and that the studios aren't giving you the stuff that they show you the same day. Maybe not all of it, but at least some. Give us a little bit. it just doesn't make sense to me that you have all this great PR going for a film, and then all of a sudden it's just like it disappears, or they take too long. You want to build on it. As soon as everyone's talking about "Don't Worry, Darling," if I'm Warner Brothers, bang, I have something out the next morning. Elvis, whatever, all these things, especially for a movie that's coming out soon like Elvis, I would want to have that footage out the next day. But I think they think, well, let's wait, let's put it out next week. No, capitalize now. When people are talking about something, you need to capitalize on it now. Because if you wait, it subsides. You need to get on top of it at that moment. Because if it's not, then you're going to be in trouble because it's just going to lose interest. People have an interest span of 6 seconds. The fact that people watch this for more than 3 seconds is shocking, but I appreciate it. Weren't there some talk a while about a potential Jurassic Park Fast and Furious crossover? If you've seen F9, yes, they both are off their rocker, Jay. I agree 100%. Just go crazy. Yes, go for it. Why not? Or Fast and Furious Transformers, although that would be Universal and Paramount. But still, I think that they could figure out a way to make it work. I think Paramount's like, yeah, they're going to make another Transformers. It's something they have to work with. Why not? They made it work with Sonic. Maybe they can bring Transformers back again. We've seen that franchise so many times. Doesn't mean I won't go see another one. Doctor Strange wave into Top Gun wave. Yeah, I mean, that's how it's going to go, Nathan. I think you got Doctor Strange, then you're going to have nothing, and then you're going to have Top Gun. So that's what you want. When you do these things, when you schedule these films, you want the wave, and then you want flat, and then you want the build, and then you build and you hit the second one. Just like you said, that's exactly what's going to happen here because there's nothing in between that's major, and that's perfectly timed. Paramount nailed it. Trust me, it's going to be nailed because there isn't anything in between. You just don't want multiple films every week because that's where you get killed. Look at last weekend. If you take The Northman out of last weekend, with massive talent and bad guys. Massive talent and Northman really go head to head, right? Those are two films that have similar audiences, even though I know they're not the same. They're both cinephilic films, okay? So you're going to get an adult-leaning audience for those. Why not take one out, Northman, and put it into theaters this weekend? This weekend, Northman opens bigger than 12. I think it got to a little over 12 for the 3-day. It opens bigger. Maybe it's 15. Doesn't matter. It's still more. Now, granted, then Doctor Strange would smash it. But I don't know. I just feel like it is counter-programming. People are going to have to see something other than Doctor Strange. But I feel like there's a way to get away from things. So I feel like maybe that would have been a better move. But people just don't want to mess with MCU. They don't want to mess with Marvel. They don't want to be anywhere near a Marvel film. And I don't blame them. Like, would you ever put a movie out the weekend after? Remember what that happened? That was that movie, the comedy, oh gosh, Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, Long Shot. Okay, Long Shot. If I'm not mistaken, I got to go back. I remember it came up against an MCU film. I don't remember which one it was, but it was like literally the weekend after, and it was very close to it, and it got completely destroyed by the wave. That's the point. You don't want to be anywhere near it. That's why these studios don't put anything after Doctor Strange. We're going to get Doctor Strange next weekend, and then nothing, and then Top Gun, because they just want to be as far removed from this as possible. That's why you only have Memory this weekend. The Liam Neeson, whatever the hell that is, film. Another one of these for almost 70-year-old Liam Neeson running around doing action movies. It's like, move on. Nathan, you'd love Duel. It's really good. It's going to be one of my favorite films of the year as far as just really weird. I'm all in on weird films, but I also understand they're not for everybody. But I believe that Duel is weird, but yet accessible. It's not, I think it's more accessible than Everything Everywhere All at Once. Duel. I do, really, absolutely. I would say watch someone who I just watch normal movies. Say, hey, I would say recommend Duel before Everything Everywhere All at Once. I believe that, and I also believe Duel is better. It's a better film, and it's a shame because it gets back to what I always talk about. Just because a film is an A24 film does not mean it's great. Duel is not an A24 film. It is an RLJE film, and it's great. And if it was an A24 film, you'll all be talking about it all day. Oh my God, this Duel movie. Karen from Doctor Who. Yes. Karen Gillan, right? I believe it's Gillan. So she's really great in Duel. She's a hell of an actress. I mean, I've only seen her really in Guardians, obviously, and with all the makeup and the prosthetics and all that, so you can't even tell who it is. But then I was looking at her going, man, she looks familiar. And then, yeah. So I don't watch Doctor Who. So that's the funny thing. People have different ideas, different frame of reference. for where people come from. And if you haven't seen it, like Glenn Powell, I tell you about the softball movie, Everybody Wants Some. And a lot of you, I guarantee most of you have never seen that film. But that's my Glenn Powell. For you, it might be some crappy Netflix movie. He did like some Netflix movie about an office romance that I think people know Glenn Powell from. Yeah, I'm okay with not showing the clips per se, but if you have a trailer, don't hide it. Yeah, exactly, Nathan. You know what sucks too? Now, since you said that, I can totally play a trailer right now, but this is the garbage of a live stream. Is that if I play a trailer right now, then they can ding you for copyright. But if I record this and talk and don't do it live, I can show the trailer. How does that make sense? I understand they're going to say it's a live stream. You could be showing a live stream of a fight or something that, a pay-per-view event. I get it. But you should be able to show a trailer. I mean, if I show a trailer all of a sudden, I could show it for a couple seconds, all of a sudden it'd go black. They'd be like, wait a second, you're showing a trailer. So whatever. You guys know what the trailers look like. Comic-Con for press. Yeah, it is. But they do sell tickets. You can get a ticket. I could have driven over to I could have gone all the way over to Vegas, but I said, I don't know, next year maybe. But this year I was like, it's a long drive. It's 4 hours and plane flights suck. I don't want to get on a plane either. I'm just lazy. I'll see these movies when they come out. But it is, I see the stuff and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I would have seen some of the footage, but I'd rather see the whole film ultimately. LAFC taking Cincinnati down. Yes, indeed. Although I'm more of a Columbus Crew guy. It's my hometown, Columbus Crew. I do have an LAFC and I have a Columbus Crew jersey. I do not have an FC Cincinnati jersey. So I need to get that. I don't think I really love their kits as much. I love all 4 Hunger Game movies, but leave it alone. I can't leave anything alone. I can tell you why, Gavin. Because they need something. Lionsgate's like, give us a movie other than John Wick. We need help. And because of that, they're going to go ahead and make this prequel for Hunger Games. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That title's almost as bad as, what was the Mission Impossible, whatever the hell they just named Mission Impossible. That title is absolutely terrible. Blah, 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 part 1. So bad. I really should have that in front of me, but I literally saw it today and I go, that's not good. Northman wasn't perfect in your eyes. I was so effing happy it made $12 million. But Nathan, that's a $70 million movie. 70 plus. Okay. People said 90. It's really about 70 something. So $70 million for 12 million. And then second weekend's going to drop 60%. It's going to end up with like 20 million domestic and worldwide, like 25. That's a huge loss for Focus. And by the way, guess who did an article about what I talked about on the stream here last week about the Northman? Variety. I'm not going to pull it up. I literally went to Variety to go, are you kidding me? The danger of greenlighting expensive movies to auteurs and giving them 70 million and having it bomb. That's what I literally said. This is the problem, is that now you have this precedent set where studios are going to look at this film and say, it didn't work for Focus. We're not going to do that for anybody ever again. That's why Robert Eggers had a very strong responsibility to make a film that is very accessible so that he can not leave everybody else hanging. He almost had like a duty, right? A civic duty to make sure his film was as accessible as possible. And I don't believe it was. I don't think it's as inaccessible as The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is completely inaccessible to anyone that's not a cinephile. It's opaque. It is just distant, and people cannot wrap anything around that film. This film, you can get sort of into it, but there's still all those elements, being a wolf and barking into the camera. And all. That's all stuff that the normal person doesn't like. So I think that's the thing. There it is, Gavin. Long Shot. Yeah. Long Shot got buried. Remind me of the movie that buried it. It was on the front end or back end. It came out like the week after, right around one MCU movie, and Long Shot got destroyed. Long Shot was actually funny. Charlize Theron is really fantastic in that film, but it absolutely got trashed by some film because it was it Endgame? Oh my God. Was it really only that long ago? I feel like it was a lot longer than that. So it was right on the backside of Endgame. Right? I think it was the weekend after Endgame. And Lionsgate's like, let's put out Long Shot. And it just got punked. I mean, just literally obliterated. And people were like, what were you thinking? Putting a movie out after Endgame, the biggest movie in the history of movies. Yeah, that was really stupid because it's really a very funny film and very underrated, but it got destroyed because the scheduling was terrible. Statements of the last Halloween in Jurassic films, sure, nobody believes that. They always say that, Aaliyah, don't they? Like, this is the last this because they want to get you in and say, oh, it's the last time we're ever going to see these dinosaurs. Let's go see Jurassic World Dominion. And then here comes, as soon as it makes a billion worldwide, Jurassic World Dominion 2. Okay, we know that. And same with Halloween, the last Halloween, my ass. It's just not, okay? Even though at this point it's really becoming comical, it's parody, right? The last one was fun. The first Halloween, not a fan of Halloween 2018. That's not a good film. The last one, Halloween Kills, at least knew what it was. And the body count was so over the top that I actually had way more fun with that film than Halloween 2018. It has the whole evil psychiatrist thing with 2018 when he goes into the speech or he stabbed, and he turns in the car. Oh my God. I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Jay, Gunpowder Milkshake was rather forgettable. Didn't see it. I've heard it's another movie I wanted to get around to, didn't get around to it. Gillian, thank you. Gillian was pretty good in that. Jumanji. Oh, I never saw Jumanji. No. Oh my God. What a terrible person. Never saw Jumanji. Never wanted to. I just didn't get around to it. There's some movies that are in your blind spot that you're just like, I didn't get around to. Jumanji, I never got around to. But that's where I saw her too. But I didn't see the movie. So this is why literally I'm looking at her like, I don't know who this is, but she's pretty solid in Duel. Oh, that's right. John Wick spinoff. They talked about that Anna de Armas is in. And whatever the name of that thing is, I just saw it today. It's whatever. Spinoff of John Wick. She is very clearly being pushed as the next big, after Bond. She has a big fan base. At least it feels like that on Twitter. We're going to find out how big the fan base is when she is on her own. We know she's doing Blonde, which is the Marilyn Monroe, Andrew Dominic movie that's coming out on Netflix. So she's going to be shielded from box office there. That's all about, it's going to be a Netflix movie, so you don't have to worry about that. When you get into a John Wick spinoff, then you are not shielded from box office, which means if that film tanks, then that's not good for Anna de Armas. So it's a big test for her as a solo act when that comes out. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Yes, exactly. Wow. What a title. Why even bother with Part 1? Just say Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. You don't need to say Part 1. We know there's going to be another MI movie. Like, it's just so stupid to even throw that on there. Just don't bother. Although you just told us there's going to be a second. We knew it. You don't need to put it on there. Don't even slap it on the end. It makes it look dumber. They took the word out of your mouth. Copyright them. Yeah, exactly. It's Ballerina. Thank you so much. This is great. I don't even have to have all this in front of me. You guys are just like, here it is. Nick's like, it's Ballerina. It's this. I appreciate it. All right, just a little bit longer here, and I'm going to get ready for bed. 4.5 or almost 4 hours of NFL draft coverage. Although I tell you again, and now I say it again, if you've never watched the NFL draft, please do, just for a little bit tomorrow. It'll be on tomorrow at like 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Watch a little bit of it and watch how they talk about players. Okay, they're going to talk about, hey, this guy's a wide receiver and he's got long arms and he's got great recovery speed, and he's cornerback, and he's got all this physicality. I love talking about films like that. Like, these are the things the film is so great at: the direction, cinematography, score. It's the same exact way that I look at a film. So when I watch the NFL draft, I go, that's how I do it. It's exactly like it's evaluation, is not critique. It's more evaluation. What works, what doesn't. Can an NC-17 picture, win in picture of the year? Blonde. The problem with Blonde is I believe it's an earlier release. I got to look at the exact date, but it's not in the awards window. It's a little outside of it. But yeah, and also it's Netflix. Netflix has a problem winning Best Picture, but that would be crazy though if they win Blonde. I love Andrew Dominic. Oh my God! And if you have not seen, obviously Assassination of Jesse James, but when you go to Killing Them Softly, Killing Them Softly is a movie that I keep going back to because I love the mood of the film. You ever put on a film for the mood of a film? Like Drive, same thing for me. It's a quiet movie and then all of a sudden explodes. That is just like Killing Them Softly. They're very similar in tone, Drive and Killing Them Softly. And both of them came out about the same time, 11 or 12. But Andrew Dominik's a great director. I love that guy. And so we'll see what happens with Blonde. Picture of the year, probably not. It's NC-17, but it is Marilyn Monroe. It is about Hollywood. I think right now, if I had to name one film that's going to win Best Picture, it is going to be Babylon. That is Paramount's. They debuted it over there at CinemaCon. Damien Chazelle, you know that he makes great movies. Not a surprise that it's going to be great. I've already talked to someone who saw the test screening and said it really knocked him out. It was just really, really fun. Matt Bologna, I believe he's at THR, or he was, is reporting that Spencer Klein, Netflix film distribution head, is pressuring them to do finally. Yeah, really. I only say this like every time. Like, you've got to do theater exclusives for big budget titles. I've said this literally. If Spencer Klein is reading my film tweets or coming on here and say, dude, and he's getting paid a fortune to come up with that decision. I told you I would drive down to Netflix on Sunset. I can get there in about 12 minutes and literally put together a package with AMC or Regal. I could get it done within a day. And I'm not making whatever Spencer Klein is making. Good Lord. It's not that hard. Some of these executives get paid to do things that you're like, no shit. You should have done this a long time ago. Killing Them Softly is so good, Nathan. It is. That's the assignment for tonight on this Thursday as we wrap the show. Go watch Killing Them Softly. That is a great film, and it's really grown on me over the years. Brad Pitt, Andrew Dominik, you've got all kinds of really strong Ray Liotta's in that movie. Really great actors in that. Paul Giamatti, not Paul Giamatti, what's his name who passed away? There's you got to go see it. Go watch Killing Them Softly. That's the homework assignment. I think it's on Netflix. And that is going to do it for this Thursday night midnight movie talk. I'll be back on Monday with discussion of Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. Very much looking forward to that. Probably be limited on my reaction. We'll go later than midnight because I'm going to get out of the film at probably about 9:15. That means we'll probably go midnight movie talk at about 1 a.m. Eastern on Monday. Have a great weekend, although I will see you Sunday night to talk about box office. One film. It's going to be the shortest stream ever. Memory made $2. Stream over. I'll see you guys Sunday night. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Appreciate it as always. Talk soon.